Many glands, sweat glands are apocrine, few are what? Merocrine. Few are what? In animals, this is sweat glands are very special. Most of cases, sweat glands in animals are located where there is no hair on the skin. Where is no hair on. I can give you example of dog. This is important. The whole skin of dog is hairy skin. So, but the foot, foot pad, you understand? The dorsal, the under area of the foot pad, the foot pad of the horse is, have you observed, of dog is what? Is little hard to put on the earth, for the walking, for the running, if you have observed. In other sense, have no hair. The skin there is what? Thick. So at that area, in the case of dog and cat, we have many sweat glands. But in the rest of body, you will not find sweat glands. Taking the example in the animals, horse is the best animal which have so many sweat glands. And if you may observe, if some horses are under active exercise or running, they show lot of sweat on their body. But other animal, have you seen buffalo, cattle, goat showing sweat on their body? No. Dog, no. Dog only showed foot path. The other DT first, if dog is running, you will only find the footprint of the dog because of the sweat produced by the foot pad of the dog, because there you will have what? Sweat glands, but rest of body do not have sweat glands. But in the case of horse, we have sweat glands throughout the body. In animals, like cattle, buffalo, they have less sweat glands. They have less sweat glands. That's why they do not show too extra sweat on their body. You need to understand. In the case of human beings, we have many sweat glands. But thing is, you need to understand, being a veterinarian, these glands are modified animals. These glands have different locations, have little different names, maybe have, like anal gland, like horn glands. Also, there is maybe called as circumference gland. They are around circumference gland. Many other glands, they are located on the different area. Gland is one gland which is known as, maybe I think, hoof gland. It is located in the hoof of sheep, between the hoof of sheep here. If this is a hoof of sheep, a digit of sheep. So, but point is that still there is two type of glands. Sebaceous gland are all other gland which is located on the skin of animals. They are what? They are modification of sebaceous gland or modification of sweat gland. And other important gland which you can consider as the modification of skin gland is the mammary gland. Mammary glands in human beings and mammary glands in other animals. Typically in cow and cattle we call it, goat we call that udder. We will have the responsible for the milk production, about udder and mammary gland we will have a separate lecture. That's clear. But still you can include the skin or mammary gland, mammary gland or udder is what? Modify skin gland. That's clear. After this, the next important things we have is what? We have discussed two appendages of the skin or derivative of skin. Which one? Here, skin gland. Third one is what? Let's look on hoof. Okay, this is equine hoof. This is important. Horse, if you observe this, the limb of horse actually modify and form a hoof, a single. But if you look on animals like cattle, they have hoof which have a space, intra-hoof space too. There is horse have only one hoof. They have this happening over where? On the proximal end of the limbs. These structures, these hooves, okay, these are what? They are also the modification of epidermis. They also have modification of, have all, skin tissue, like they have dermis, they have epithelial lining, they have blood vessels, but they are modified according to animal walk mechanism. They are modified according to the walking mechanism of the animal. So these hoofs are actually, if you look the outer covering, the outer covering is the hard and rough, scale-like. This outer covering is hard and rough and scale-like. Inside, if you look, you will find the epithelial lining, you will find the connective tissue. You will find the connective tissue. So this hoof actually is also what? Skin derivative. Hoof is what? Also what? Skin derivative or appendages. Anything else? Similarly, we have horns. We have, this is important. Some animal, bovine species. Do you have horns? Thank you. So, which animal have horns, Umar? Cattle. Male or female? Both have, and buffalo, goat have. What really happened? There is the frontal bone, on the skull. Frontal bone on the skull. This frontal bone have coronal process. Coronal process. This process, they have modified epidermis. A covering on that coronal process is known as, covering on this. These are actually keratinocytes. Dead keratinocytes. Here is similarly in hoofs, they are modified, the epithelial cells. So the coronal process, there is the covering. That covering is actually known as what? Horns. Horns are what? Some animal, wild animal, they use them like a weapon. They use like them a weapon. Some people's, cattle, buffalo, they may have horns. So some people, they also use for the decoration of animal. They believe that animals look beautiful if they have a beautiful horns. But technically in the wild areas, they are what? Used as weapon. And they are what? Epidermal modification. Okay, they are covering on the coronal process. They are covering on the frontal bone have a process. Coronal process, they are covering up that. That's clear. If some animal do not have horn, it is known as what? What is interesting thing is that if you observe goat, cattle, some goat have horns, some do not have. Am I right? This happens naturally by birth. Some don't have. That animal known as what? Horse have horn. So if some breed of goat, these characteristics I can tell you, this modification, they are breed specific in the animals. They are breed specific. Some animal do not have horn. Some breed of goat do not have. That animal known as what? Heard this word, polled, They are called as polled naturally. There is a technique, if animal living together, they have long and sharp horns, they may damage each other. They may damage. On dairy farm, this is a common practice. People do dehorning. They do. After the birth, there is a different way, a chemical way or other way. They want these horns do not grow. These horns do not grow. Stop the growth of these horns. This is known as what? Dehorning. This is a common practice. This is the common practice in dairy farms. That's clear. Point is that there is a modification on the skull frontal bone, which in the wild animal, this is also considered as a weapon. And in the domesticated animal, they give a beautiful appearance to the animals. And mostly, male animals, male partner of the animals have long and strong horns. Long and strong horns. That's clear.